Friendly greetings! It's me, Torley, and I'm showing you the Watermelon Patch, which is a new track of mine that I uploaded. Go to torley.bandcamp.com to listen to it, or to my website, torley.com. It's also linked from there. I want to share some of the pseudo secrets that go into making a piece of computer / technology based, or techno for short, / electronica. This in a way qualifies as house music, but not fully, because while I pay attention to the rules, I like to make my own coloring books. It's a lot more fun. So without ado, I'm going to play the first part, not the whole thing all the way. You can listen to the MP3 for that, but to give you a feel what this is all about. And I explain how the sorts of bits and pieces go together. And even if you aren't into gear lusting, like I happen to be as a pro hobbyist or a probbyist, I hope you can get something out of this. It's like magic. So here we go. It's B4 from Native Instruments. It's an organ. The reverb. Great springiness. And then my wife's gonna come in. More lines start to move in. It may be hard to hear me. Don't worry, I'll pause later. Don't have ducking on this. No, I'm not angry. Time! Auto follow. Clap, clap, clap. And there's the bass. So this came to me in a dream. The story behind part of it is on my blog, and it was unrelated to this originally. That my wife, the lovely Jennifer, aka Ravenel, who does Zug Zugs, that's that's such a hard letter to say, ZUGZZUGZ.com, read this out, and I'm going to solo it. It's a nice little button here, and there's a sort of stutter leading up to it. And she just read this into my Samson C01U, and it also has, since I click on this track here, you can see all the effects. There's a ping pong delay. That's what is making that echo. It swishes around, it goes through this camel crusher. Most of these really aren't used. I just had it out there for no good reason. When I do a track, often in the energy, I don't organize so much unless I get lost, and then I need to label things properly. I've gotten better with that with experience, but there are various effects. Like you can see, let me activate speakerphone here. It's wonderful. It crashes on occasion, but it has this preset called Captain Speaking, because without that, let me just close that back, or I can do that and disable. Yeah, it will sound like this. So I can crush it and sounds like an airplane cabin. And this is my yes. Time. This is my effects chain, and back and forth here. You can keep adding devices, and I love this, having near unlimited insert effects, because in the old days when I had hardware synthesizer, it's like, well, you got 2 blocks or 4 blocks for all your 16 multi-timbro parts, and that's it, and that sucked. And in the beginning here, I have this B4. This is from Native Instruments. Let me just solo this here. I think the other one is not soloed anymore, and it's like just a really simple loop. And the spring reverb, it's a beautiful thing. See, it's moving. Just like that, it's cool. And the whew comes from a total mix, I think it was, if memory serves correctly. I have some on the master track. I have some effects that are applied the whole thing, like phasing and the beat repeater, which is really nice, and my mastering chain here. I might go into more depth about that later. Before I continue, let me disclaim that I have hyperacusis, which is my ears are screwed up. You can look it up for a more technical definition, and I can't hear what people might consider right. So I muddle along in my own ways and find my own clarity, and I find sound effects like this, which strikes. I had put this through this metallic sort of resonation effect. Without it, it's like... And it's very, very nice to be able to do that. Now, in post, that's Ableton Live's own drum machine. And again, I have effects stacked. I don't have a particular rule for how I chain them, just if it sounds nice and lovely, or dirty and filthy, if that's my aim. So it's just a solid kick drum there. And it gets more elaborate here. You can zoom in and see the patterns. Other elements start to come in and play. This is a very cool thing you can see. There's sort of a swing. Not fully a schliffen beat, but if you go further, you get some claps and stuff. And it gets very bouncy. Here we have Synplant, which was used to make, I actually froze this, FNF. One of my favorite tricks in Ableton Live, pardon me, is to freeze and flatten. What I'll do is I'll take any MIDI part and right click and freeze it. And then when it's frozen, I'll flatten it. And that turns into an audio track, which gives you more flexibility in chopping things up, less flexibility in changing the notes. So it's a trade-off. You can, of course, make a copy. This is the age of backups. And if you want to chop it up, I like doing the old Command E, and then I just chop it up like that. And then I have like some stutter things. And it's really cool because you can zoom in and you can make a big granular difference. So if you want to take that, just that little wedge there on the grid, I can right click to show the grid. This isn't fully meant to be educational, it's just funny. Like that. You get little zipper effects, if that's what you want. So it goes and modulates. And there's a little bit crushing that happens at times that will make it sound more aggressive. I think it's somewhere here, or is it throughout the entire thing? I can't quite recall on that note. And I also froze a core track here. And this is just a very solid, meaty clap. Just really... And by the way, that's something else I love doing, is taking a reverse sound and folding it into itself. So right here we have the reverse of the clap, just this part. Just getting sucked into itself. And you can, for lack of a better term, emphasize the suck effect by doing it more. So like that. It's just copy and paste. It's so easy to make computer music. And here we have an arrangement. And just know what ingredients go together in this stew. So here I had Battery, which is Native Instruments drum machine. And I just applied vinyl effects. It sounds gritty and grimy and gets softer here. In some of my other tutorials, I show how to actually, I play, like the Synplant one in particular, I toured through a lot of sounds in that. Look that up on YouTube, that's also up here. And then we have a recapitulation, to use the classical music term, of the Once Upon a Time. And I really chop my voice up here, my wife's voice up here to go, you know, time. And the filter is getting modulated, which means it gets kind of softer in the high end, more dull and sharper. It's such a comfort to hear her in my ears when I'm composing. It's pretty awesome because she has a wonderful voice. And I also, let's see what else we did here that I could explain the story behind. Let's play the full mix at this part. Whoop, something is still soloed. That's another sort of signature thing I like doing, is changing the notes. So it's like a one note bass, which is very simple. But by adding a few extra notes, you get some nice variation. And a chord progression. It's a good growl. It's got a good swishiness. Got a nice solid feel to it, and it's part of Ableton's own synthesis. And to prove it to you, I can play some additional notes. Let's see here. I don't have my webcam on for this session, but I'm playing. That's what I'm doing. Using the mod wheel for some modulation. And in comparison without Camel Crusher, it doesn't sound nearly as aggressive. And the EQ helps take off some of the high end because it's the bass after all. We want to balance it out, while making the bottom end fatter with a PH. So that's a teaser, more than that actually, of how I put together the Watermelon Patch track. And I often start with the rhythms. I like to just put it piece by piece. It's very nice, like a decoupage, une collage. You can take pieces and rearrange them, just click and slide, whatever. It's really nice that way, computer editing. And I do this all in Ableton Live. I get questions. Here's all my plugins and some demos of things that I haven't bought yet. On the left-hand side, it's not a deeply extensive collection, but it's one where I want to serve the music and have it serve me by learning each one intimately and knowing what it really does, all the little heebie-jeebies from piece to piece, because you aren't going to use everything on a single song. But as you learn, you're like, wow, ooh, filter cutoff affects it that way. This one has integrated effects, and it's always more fun to show than tell you. And right here, oh, that was the clap, right. And one more thing with the clap, which is funny. You can make it sound wobbly like that. That was with the frequency shifter, not to be confused with a pitch shifter, although there is some similarity. Hope you enjoy this, and I plan to do more for future tracks. If you made it this far, thank you graciously, and do check out the full Watermelon Patch on those addresses I gave you. Just go to torley.com and click the music tab. That's probably the easiest way to find it. It's in there on the top selection with computer music. At least it is for now. And I should preempt that if there's going to be questions asking me, oh, can I get the stems for this? That's a lovely idea. I could certainly do that. I don't plan to release that yet. If there is crushing interest, I think it's a fine notion. But for now, I'm going to keep releasing new tracks in various computery music styles, and do find delight and pleasure in them. This is Torley bidding you a friendly goodbye from now from the Watermelon Patch. Reverb. Always good to have an ending section. I like my variants. Warp the drums. Here it comes, here it comes. Oh. Are you ready? Ciao!